Our mistress of the ceremony this afternoon does not need a formal introduction. She has made Farm Bureau very proud through her years. She has many talents that go back a long way. She represented us well as 1990 Farm Bureau Queen, and she also represented us with the 2011 Ag Ambassador. At this time, I would like to turn the program over to our own Barbie Bassett.
Oh, I tell you, it's just an honor every single year for me to have the opportunity to be a part of your weekend. It's pretty much on my calendar, Clara. I hope you don't mind, but every time that first full weekend and December rolls around, I know exactly where I'm going to be. In fact, as we were driving on County Line Road yesterday, my children, which I homeschool all three of them, but they were riding in the car with me, and my son said, "Mama, there are your friends again at the Hilton." And it's because he sees the tractors out front and, of course, the new truck out there for our winners later on today. So it's really neat that even my children really appreciate what you're doing here this weekend. I know many of you have been working feverishly, especially before the freeze happened across North Mississippi. I talked to my daddy earlier this week, and he still had some soybeans he was trying to get out of the field before yesterday happened. So it's just great to be with you here this afternoon. I want to introduce those who have a very difficult job here today, and that is our judges, who are going to try their best to select an ambassador for you that will continue throughout this year. And obviously, thanks to your generosity, be able to take away this college scholarship. And I'm sure that each and every one of their parents appreciate what you have done to make this a part of the program. So I want to start with introducing our judges, and I'll start with Sherilyn Jones. Sherilyn is a graduate of Auburn University with a BA in sociology and psychology, and Mississippi State University with an M.Ed in guidance and counseling in Delta State, and with an M.A. in sociology. She is president for Mississippi Women for Agriculture. She has moderated political forums for U.S. senators, Mississippi governors, U.S. representatives, and local mayoral elections. Sherilyn serves on the board of directors for Sunflower County Humane Society, Mississippi Tennis Association, the MDCC Center for Career with Workforce, Mississippi Council for the Humanities Coalition for Mississippi Children's, and a member of Delta Rockers. For the last 3 years, she's received grants for planting the seeds for careers in agriculture, which is educating 15 through 19-year-old children. 15 through 19-year-old teenagers. She said that we are pleased to report that Sherilyn has based several of her classes around Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation's Ag in the Classroom. Sherilyn and Austin are catfish farmers. Their son is an MSU graduate who has continued in the farming business, but recently the newest love of her life is Mary August, who has made her a proud grandmother. Agriculture is Sherilyn's passion, and she will continue to voice her concerns about the need to understand and support the vital role agriculture plays in each of our lives. Please help me welcome Sherilyn Jones. Our next judge is Derek Surrett, and as Executive Director of the Mississippi Association of Supervisors, Derek is deeply involved in county government on a daily basis. He works with county supervisors and other county officials across Mississippi to represent the best interests of counties at both the state and the federal levels. Derek represents the Mississippi Association of Supervisors on several boards, including the National Association of Counties, Public Land Steering Committee, and as a board member for the Council of Southern Counties. Prior to accepting the position of Executive Director for the Association of Supervisors, Derek served as head of the Public Policy Department with the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. He's a graduate of Mississippi State University. He has received both his undergraduate and his graduate degrees in agricultural economics. Derek and his wife, the former Sherry Bell, live in Brandon. Please welcome Derek Surrett. And our third judge is Steve Cummings, who has served as the Yalobusha County Extension Director for 30 years prior to his retirement 2 years ago. And during this time, he served as advisor to the Yalobusha County's Farm Bureau Board of Directors, where he mentored 4 Farm Bureau State Young Farmer and Rancher Achievement Award winners, 3 Farm Bureau State Young Farmer and Rancher Discussion Contest winners, 2 Farm Bureau State Queens, and 2 Farm Bureau State Talent winners, all from Yalobusha County. And since his retirement, he spends his time working on his cattle and timber farm and volunteers his time with Farm Bureau activities on the county, district, and state level, as well as serving as a member of the Yalobusha County Farm Bureau Board of Directors. He serves as director of the Coffeyville Saddle Club, and in 2011, he was honored as Mississippi Farm Bureau Distinguished Service Award recipient. Please welcome Steve Cummings. All right, so we are going to get started with our competition, and here's how it will go. Each one of the contestants will come up and give their presentation to you. After they have done so, I will have Molly Martin, your ambassador for this last year, come up and assist me with the impromptu questions portion. So obviously they will be judged on their presentation as well as how they handle impromptu and extemporaneous types of questions. So we'll start with contestant number 1, Colin Ray Hutchison. Colin lives in Saltillo. He goes to Mississippi State University. He's majoring in ag, education, and agronomy. He has received the Citizenship Award, the Principals Award, the Agriculture Award, Lee County Cattlemen Youth Board member. And going to Mississippi State, of course, he plans to work as an agriculture teacher upon graduation. Colin Ray Hutchison.
Thank you, Miss Barbie. Please excuse me and bear with me. I'm getting over a cold from cutting beans last week. The bean dust got to me, unfortunately. Agriculture is a hobby, a job, or a way of life for most Mississippians. Agriculture is Mississippi's #1 industry, employing approximately 30% of the state's workforce, either directly or indirectly. In Mississippi, agriculture is a $7.5 billion industry, making a significant contribution to all of Mississippi's 82 counties. Agriculture is big business in Mississippi. Mississippi has over 42,000 farms covering 11.2 million acres. The average farm size is composed of 263 acres. As mentioned earlier, it accounts for approximately employing 30% of the workforce and is on average a $7 billion industry, annually contributing to the state's economy. The top 16 agricultural commodities are poultry and eggs, soybeans, forestry, corn, cotton, cattle and calves, catfish, hay, wheat, rice, pork, horticultural crops, sweet potatoes, peanuts, milk, and grain sorghum. A severe drought settled over more than half of the continental United States in the summer of 2012 was the most widespread in half of a century. It affected me and thousands of Mississippi farmers directly. The drought damaged or destroyed nearly 80% of the U.S. field crops, mostly affecting corn and soybeans. Final yield estimates was set at 123 bushels per acre for corn, and it is the lowest since 1995. However, Mississippi's average was 156 bushels per acre. That's a plus for being above the national average last year. Soybean final yield estimates stood at 39.6 bushels per acre. That is the lowest seen since 2003. And yet again, Mississippi was higher. We had an average of 42 bushels per acre. With the soybean supplies being extremely tight entering the 2012 harvest, prices set record highs during the part of late summer and early fall. The 2013 soybean and corn crops were very late being planted due to a mild and rainy wet spring, which relieved drought conditions in a large part of the Midwest. Harvest was also delayed due to late spring planting, and even though the fall weather has been great for harvesting, several soybeans are yet to be harvested. Yields have been good and prices have held, even though they are projected to fall. Due to the 2012 drought, we are seeing very low cattle numbers. With the drought being so severe, it drove producers to sell off whole herds, lowering the number of cattle throughout the U.S. The inventory of cattle and calves in the drought-stricken areas has been the lowest seen in over 40 years. The 2013 calf crop is the smallest in 63 years. Rebuilding the nation's cow herd will take time and money. This is where Farm Bureau and the strong political forces it carries will come into play. Mississippi, however, was not as drastically affected by the lack of rain in 2012. There were fewer Mississippi cattlemen who were not forced to reduce or deplete their herds. With grain prices lower than previous years, cattlemen are in line to profit from the 2014 sale of calves. The problem, though, that we are seeing in Mississippi is very low heifer and cow numbers. For instance, the Mississippi Beef Exhibition has been held in March at Tupelo for the last 16 years, and the promoters of this event are unsure of the 2014 sale due to lack of heifers being consigned. This is due to high cattle prices for the last several months and cattlemen selling calves straight to feedlots. Farming and ranching is a gamble with profitability dependent on many factors: weather, fuel prices, fertilizer, seed prices, the availability and cost of labor, just to mention a few. I, as a young farmer and rancher, am willing to roll the dice. Farming is my way of life and the life of many Mississippians. I and many others plan to continue working hard to succeed at farming and raising a family on our family farms. When times are tough for Mississippi, Mississippi Farm Bureau for many years has taken an active political role to help ensure that leaders working with the Agricultural Committee remain on an appropriate pathway forward. As a producer, I am involved with the ag commodities of beef cattle and hay. Many farmers turned cattle pastures into soybean fields and corn fields due to projected high grain prices. This affected me as a cattleman by not being able to harvest hay from pastures I had worked the past few years and not being able to acquire pasture land to expand my cow herd. My home county, Lee County, at one time had a large number of grain and cattle farmers. It also hosted a large number of dairy producers. As time has passed, I have seen Lee County go from a large, primarily agricultural county to an industrialized county. The number of dairies has completely been depleted, and cow herds, along with row crop acres, have been drastically reduced. I am a junior at Mississippi State. I truly believe that an education is a priority in today's farming picture. A farmer must be willing to do his homework, keep up with prices and trends, while staying on the cutting edge of technology. As a voice for Farm Bureau, I would like to use my education to work with young people in my home county, as well as across the state of Mississippi, to promote agriculture and its importance in our daily lives. While trying to promote agriculture, I also would like to convince the younger generation to stay on their family farms. Is there any questions?
All right, Colin, here's your question. Do Americans spend a lower percentage of their income on food than people living in other countries? Why or why not?
Yes, they do spend a lower percentage of their income on food. A lot of people in the United States are fortunate. They don't have to worry about where their next meal comes from. Although there is some in the United States who do have to worry about that. And agriculture with the Farm Bill does have programs to provide subsidies for that. And overseas, in a lot of foreign countries and third world countries, hunger is a very large issue and political issue across the whole world. So yes, Americans do spend less on food than people across the world.
All right, thank you, contestant number 1, Colin Hutchison from Saltillo. All right, we'll continue with contestant number 2, William Patrick Sanford. William is from Foxworth. He goes to Mississippi State University, majoring in civil engineering and environmental. He's a member of the Baptist Student Union Intramural Sports, the Pi Kappa Phi fraternity, and the Mississippi State chapter of Ducks Unlimited. He plans on getting his degree in civil engineering with an emphasis in environmental and to help make an impact conserving and maintaining the overall environmental quality. William Sanford.
Thank you. Today I want to talk a little bit about agriculture and the environment. Agriculture is important for many different reasons. I would say the main reason is because it feeds everybody. Every person in this world, whether they realize it or not, depends on agriculture for food. Also, agriculture provides income for many farm families. It's their way of life. Lastly, agriculture is important because it teaches many important values such as hard work or honesty. Having a quality environment is very important. Having clean air, I think, is most important since we breathe in an approximate 3,000 gallons of air per day. And breathing in polluted air could cause us to become sick, and also polluted air can negatively affect trees, crops, lakes, and animals. Having quality water is also important for a quality environment. We use water for almost everything, including drinking, recreation, watering crops and livestock, and also industrial processes. Water resources have major environmental, social, and economic values, and if the quality of our water is not maintained, those values will suffer. A quality environment is also important for our health. It is estimated that almost 25% of all deaths and diseases can be attributed to some type of environmental factor. So what's the connection between agriculture and the environment? Well, first off, I believe it's safe to say that it is essential to have a good quality environment to produce good quality crops and or livestock. Soil health is very important to agriculture, and it is also directly affected by the quality of the environment. Water pollution is a main connective between the two. Poor management practices can cause hazardous runoff from agricultural fields, resulting in the pollution of streams and water. However, proper management practices can benefit agricultural processes while also conserving environmental quality. Soil loss and erosion is a huge problem, resulting in depleted soil nutrients and therefore unhealthy crops. Proper management practices such as planting cover crops and changing tillage practices can help conserve soil health. Also, designing more efficient drainage systems for agricultural fields can also help curb the problem of water pollution. So what does this have to do with the Farm Bureau? Well, Farm Bureau has environmental programs in place that encourage environmental conservation. Also, Farm Bureau is very active in lobbying for the Farm Bill in Washington, which Farm Bill allocates funds for environmental conservation projects. Well, what does this all have to do with me? I'm studying civil and environmental engineering at Mississippi State University, and I hope to one day be able to work diligently to conserve our environment. And maybe even one day work alongside with farmers to conserve the environment for the benefit of agriculture. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, William, here's your question. How important is it that K through 12 be educated about agriculture production?
I think it's extremely important for kids ages K through 12 to be educated on the importance of agriculture, because so many of the younger generation kids today don't know where their food comes from. They think maybe it just comes from the grocery store. They don't realize all the hard work and the things that have to go into producing that food. So therefore, they don't have a great appreciation of agriculture. I think it's maybe less than 2% of our population work as farmers. So that industry is declining, and I think by educating more of the younger generation, we can solve that problem and give them a greater appreciation for agriculture as a whole.
Thank you. Contestant number 2, William Patrick Sanford from Foxworth. Contestant number 3 is Christian Lee Good. Christian is from Macon, attends Mississippi State, majoring in agribusiness management. He plans to get his degree and utilize it as a farmer and entrepreneur. He says that he would enjoy farming in the state of Mississippi while looking for business ventures to invest in addition to his agriculture operation. Christian?
Good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to first thank Farm Bureau and everyone involved with the Ambassador program for allowing me to be here today and discuss my opinion about the future of agriculture. So, what does the future of agriculture hold? In what ways will this industry be changing? I believe that 3 ways will contribute to the future of agriculture. First, a growing worldwide population. Second, technology. And finally, an aging U.S. farmer population. According to the UN Populations Division, in 1970, there were half as many people in the world as there are today. Their prediction for 2050 is 9.2 billion people, which is a 30% increase from today's population. To maintain a supply with this growing demand, I believe that the Food and Agriculture Organization estimates a needed 70% increase in total farm production. In my interview with Mr. Jacob McGehee, president of Mississippi Cattlemen's Association, he described this demand by saying, people have to have food and fiber. We, as farmers, produce food and fiber. We satisfy the 2 most important needs. To put it simply, we are the grocery store to the world. And with a growing population, the demands for food may even resemble Black Friday. To keep up with those demands, the supply will increase through the growing development of technology. Since 1970, the corn production has increased from 4 billion to 11 billion bushels. Those figures represent a growth in agriculture in the past, but how can technology play a role in increasing the farmers' bottom lines? Well, we see a continued development in the use of GMOs, genetically modified organisms, increasing the global average yields with fewer inputs in the crops. This development of seed technology will allow for the land that was previously unsuitable for agriculture to be put into production. The development of precision agriculture has allowed for maximum efficiency with minimum inputs, which has translated into a total increase of farm production. It is all about putting exactly the right amount at exactly the right time in exactly the right place. This past week, I attended some Mississippi State University row crop short course classes, and they mentioned that an app could be purchased for your iPad to watch the progression of the planter throughout the field anywhere in the world through the use of GPS technology. He further explained that it records the operator's mistakes, pauses in progression, and many other factors. So I leaned over to my dad and said, I don't think we need that, because that means job security for me. So an increase in production methods, in addition to that, is technology has expanded the areas of biofuels and renewable resources, which has provided row crop farmers with additional markets to sell their grains, as well as livestock producers with the option of feedstuffs of distillers' grain. To maintain the renewable resources sector of agriculture, I think we have to encourage sustainability, which causes for more innovation and less regulation. The final contributing factor to the future of agriculture is the aging U.S. farmer population. According to the University of Illinois, the average age of the U.S. farmer is rising to 57 years old, which is a 9 years increase since 1945. The USDA reported in 2007 that for every farmer under the age of 25, there were 5 who were 75 or older. With a rough estimate of 500,000 U.S. farmers in the position to retire in the next 10 years, the demand for agricultural products will increase. The total amount of jobs available for the next generation will be available. So we see the expansions and uses and image of the next generation farmer points to opportunity. As an upcoming agricultural producer, a farming profession will not only be available, but it looks extremely positive. Furthermore, if I was chosen to be a Mississippi Farm Bureau ambassador, I would encourage young and upcoming producers to get excited about this industry and the bright future that is ahead. In conclusion, there are a few challenges that need to be faced in the upcoming future, but the opportunities are endless for both the experienced and the upcoming producers in this wonderful state. Through a growing world population, technology, and an aging U.S. farmer population. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a blessed Christmas season.
Okay, Christian, here's our question. Do you believe that ensuring a safe and reliable food supply in America is a national security issue? Why or why not?
I do believe that it becomes a national security issue. When you see the different agencies like the EPA and the USDA regulating our agricultural products, we see that we have the safest products in the whole world. We have the products that we know we're not going to get carcinogens, anything that is harmful to us. And that's what we have to do as an ambassador or as general agricultural population, is encourage the health benefits to U.S. products and U.S. agriculture.
Thank you. Contestant number 3, Christian Lee Good from Macon. Contestant number 4 is Joanna Lee King. Joanna is from Bentonia. She's a senior at Mississippi State University, majoring in agribusiness and management concentration. And so she plans on graduating next December, continuing her education to receive a master's in either agribusiness or marketing pertaining to agriculture. She said she plans to obtain a career in which she can be able to express her creativity as well as be an advocate for agriculture. Joanna?
Thank you, Barbie. And also thank you all for having me here today. I'd like to start off by sharing a little bit about my family's background. My dad was in the military while my family was growing up. So during this time, we weren't able to have animals because we moved every 2 years. But my sister and I always dreamed about having a horse. So when my dad retired in 2001, we settled on 32 acres in the small town of Bentonia, Mississippi. And the first thing that we did was get a horse. Well, little did we know that that would soon turn into horses, goats, chickens, and just about any other kind of farm animal that you can imagine. While growing up, my sister and I were both very involved in 4-H, where we showed our animals, participated in judging contests and presentations. And during these years, Farm Bureau was always very involved. Lord knows we couldn't have a county show unless Jerry Alexander was there to announce. And I still remember writing thank you notes every year after the shows for sponsors of the classes, and Farm Bureau was always sure to get a few. Because 4-H helped to shape my passion for agriculture and ultimately my goals for the future, I think that Farm Bureau and everybody in this room deserves a round of applause for supporting 4-H. Currently, I'm a senior in agribusiness at Mississippi State University, where I'm involved in numerous ag-related clubs on campus, such as the National Agri-Marketing Association, where our Mississippi State team went to Kansas City this past year to present our product, and we're looking forward to going to Jacksonville this coming April. I'm also involved in the Block and Bridle Club on campus, where I served as female pledge marshal this past year. I'm planning to attend a Master of Agribusiness program following graduation and hopefully pursue a career in agri-marketing. This semester, I've been interning in the U.S. Senate in Senator Cochran's office, and I couldn't have asked for a more exciting time to be in D.C. between the partial government shutdown and all the talks about the Farm Bill. This past summer, I interned for an ag lending cooperative in Kentucky, and part of my projects over the summer included visiting local farmers markets. While doing this, I learned that the amount of farmers markets has increased 80% over the past 10 years across the United States, according to the Congressional Research Services, as people are moving towards eating more locally grown foods. Also, smaller farms, being a farm that generates less than $250,000 annually, tend to rely more on these farmers markets and community-supported agriculture for the majority of their income, as you can see here in this pie chart. There has been, the majority of the people that I talked with over the summer at these farmers markets tended to grow a wider variety of crops on minimal acreage, and they were very concerned about the availability of crop insurance for them. There's been a lot of promotional activity from the local to national government levels to bring consumers to the farmers markets, but not as much has been done to protect the producer. Now, Farm Bureau is a very well-known organization for representing the farmer back home. And as this issue continues to grow, I think that it will be an excellent opportunity for Farm Bureau to continue to represent the needs of the farmer and be the voice of agriculture. One of the main goals of the Farm Bureau Ambassador is to educate people about where their food comes from. And I see these farmers markets as an excellent learning opportunity for people to become familiar with the food industry and get to know their farmers. Also, as the Farm Bureau Ambassador, it would be my goal to educate people about the food and fiber industries while promoting Mississippi farmers who produce safe and reliable foods, as well as increasing awareness about jobs in the agricultural industry. I love to share my story about how agriculture has impacted my life, and I would love to instill the importance of agriculture in others, just as my parents taught me from a very young age. Thank you all for having me, and I look forward to getting to know more of you as the day goes on.
All right, Joanna, here's your question. Why do farmers go to such great lengths to treat their animals and livestock properly?
Well, one of the reasons that farmers go through that length is because of, well, legal obligations. Obviously, the consumer is very concerned with how what they're eating has been treated, and there are laws in place to ensure that these animals are treated properly. And also, I know from raising my own animals that I had personal connections with them, and I just like to enjoy them and know that they were raised in a healthy environment.
Thank you. Contestant number 4, Joanna Lee King from Bentonia. That does include the judging proportion for you. As the judges are excused, I would like to welcome back up here to the stage Molly Martin. Molly has been serving as the 2013 Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation Ag Ambassador. She's the daughter of Randy and Lee Martin of the Rankin County community, the thriving metropolis of Cato.
That's right.
Yes, population of what? Do we know?
300 on a good day.
300 on a good day. Well, she's a senior at Mississippi State University, majoring in marketing and minoring in public relations. You're a member of the Delta Gamma sorority, and you're a member of the College of Business Ambassadors and Student Association. And you're planning on graduating here pretty soon. We'll talk about that here in just a
I
second.
graduate in May. I finished my marketing degree. And then I'm going to get my master's of business administration, stay in Starkville. No better place.
Very
So,
good. So tell me about this year. What all have you been doing?
It's been such a great year. I'm so thankful to have been given this opportunity. I've got to do anything from go to the Capitol and meet with our legislators to getting to tell little kids about agriculture and maybe drawing that connection from the farm to their plate. So it's been a great year that I've learned a lot myself. So.
And speaking of learning a lot, has there been anything that has surprised you, maybe that you've learned about yourself or really just about farming and Farm Bureau?
I've learned a lot about the people, I guess. I've learned that watching these Farm Bureau women work, these women go above and beyond to make sure that the children are with ag in the classroom, that they have the opportunity to learn. They go above and beyond to make sure that every detail is taken care of, whether it's how everything looks or to make sure everybody's where they're supposed to be when. So that's been one of the biggest things I guess I've learned and appreciated is what these women do for agriculture in our state.
Absolutely. And let's give the ladies a big round of applause. I mean, Clara Bilbo, if it weren't for her and Helen Jenkins back in the day, I don't know where I would be today because they certainly kept me on task. So, okay, 10 years from now, obviously you said that you want to get a master's degree, but what do you see yourself doing?
That's a great question. I am currently working for athletic marketing at Mississippi State, so I'm really enjoying that right now. And I see myself in 10 years either pursuing the career in athletics or definitely agriculture. Either one would be a career path that I see myself taking.
So obviously this scholarship has helped quite a bit.
Absolutely, it has been such a blessing this year to have the scholarship and get to finish my degree. My parents are thankful for it as well.
I was about to say, tell Farm Bureau thank you for that scholarship.
Absolutely,
That's big.
yes, thank you.
That is very big. Well, thank you, Molly. You have certainly represented us all with grace and style, and all the best to you as you go into the next
Thank
chapter.
you. It's been an honor to be able to serve this year. Thank you all.
Very good. Thank you, Molly. And while we're telling thanks, let me thank each and every one of you for still letting me be a part of your Farm Bureau commercials that continue to run, at least on my station at WLBT. It's almost everywhere I go, someone talks about that farming commercial. And so I really do appreciate you allowing me to be a part of that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn it back over, and we're going to have another discussion meet. We'll come back in a few minutes. Our judges will be back here in just a few minutes and give us the winners from this particular contest. All right, it's time to announce the winners of our ambassador contest. So if I can have Mr. Randy up here, Miss Betty, Molly will be assisting us, as well as all the contestants. We'd like to present each one of our contestants with a special plaque. Molly's going to hand those out for us, yeah. It's not easy to do public speaking if it's not something that you're comfortable with, so we certainly congratulate all of you for being a part of this. All right, and I believe that I have the winners here in my hand. So our alternate for the Ambassador Award is contestant number 4, Joanna Lee King. And our Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation Ambassador for 2014 is contestant number 1, Colin Hutchison.